Hello?
Hello, is this Weird Al?
It is.
Hey Al, this is Dustin from Minnesota. How you doing?
Good, Dustin. Can you hold on for a quick second, please?
I can.
Hold on.
It's Weird Al.
He doesn't want to talk to you yet.
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we're glad to have you on the phone today.
Well, thank you.
I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
I'm great. I think this is going to be a good time.
Yay!
Well, we have some questions, and I know most of the usual questions are probably answered and are floating around already, so we have kind of some more maybe just random ones for you.
Okay.
Well, first of all, we'll ask you, when you started out, obviously you've been releasing albums for more than 30 years now and really still seeing a lot of success even more recently. Did you ever imagine this thing would last as long as it has been?
No, I mean, nobody did. I mean, when I first started out, nobody wanted to sign me to a record deal because they thought, comedy music, this is novelty stuff, this is the domain of one-hit wonders, you'll be gone 3 months from now. So nobody anticipated that I'd be like going into my fourth decade of my career. It still kind of boggles my mind.
Is there a sort of style of music that you prefer to parody, or sometimes, musical genres are kind of popular at certain times? Is there ever one where you're just like, man, I hope popular music changes because this is not my thing? Or
there's as long as there's pop music, there's always going to be something to parody. There's always something ridiculous happening in our culture. So I wouldn't say the only kind of music that's hard to parody is music that doesn't have enough words or is really repetitious, because I need words to play with. So rap music is good. There's a lot of words. Anything where I've got raw material. But I mean, in terms of genres, I'm comfortable in pretty much any genre. It's all fun to play with.
Well, and it seems that by this point too, you guys have to be pretty well educated in all genres to pull off the stuff that you do.
My band, some people denigrate my band because, it's comedy music, but I mean, they play everything from gangsta rap to polka music, and they do it all extremely well, so they're some of the best musicians you're likely to find.
What would you say is one of your favorite originals that you've written?
Oh, gosh. There's one or two on my next album, which hasn't come out yet, that I'm very proud of. But to date, gosh, there's so many. Hardware Store is kind of a fun one. That's we've never done that live because it's really hard to get all the words out that quickly. It's a real tongue twister kind of song. I did a song called Genius in France, which was sort of a homage to Frank Zappa. So that was another labor of love. That's like a 9-minute long, very complicated song. I think the long songs I are probably my favorite, just because I spend a lot of time and put more effort into those.
Well, here's kind of a strange question, but we've been fans, for the majority of your career, and we're wondering, the guy that you had early on, I want to call it hand music, for lack of a better term. Where did you find that guy, and how did that come about?
That's musical Mike Kiefer, and he was a regular on the Dr. Demento show. I met him on the Demento show, and he used to help Dr. Demento organize the show, help answer phones. I think maybe even cleaned his house every now and then. But a very cool guy, and he was a manualist, which meant he made music with his hands. And he was very good at it, and I brought him to the studio, and we would mic him up in stereo. We'd have one microphone on one end of his hands and one on the other end, because he would make the sounds would come out of both ends of his hands. And he was great. We used him a lot on the first couple albums. We haven't used him too much, recently. But he's still around, and maybe we'll bring him back sometime.
Yeah, it seems like, at least on those early albums, as much as the accordion, he was kind of big in your signature sound in a way. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah. No, you don't hear too much hand music in pop music these days.
So at one point, you ended up appearing on Wheel of Fortune with James Brown and Little Richard. Is this right?
That's right.
How ridiculous! Talk to us about that.
That was really bizarre. I got an offer to be on a Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, and I thought, I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. And they said, it's going to be with James Brown and Little Richard. And I said, sign me up. Let's do this. How often do you get a chance to do that? It was maybe, I've had a lot of surrealistic experiences in my life, but that's got to be one of the top ones. That was so bizarre. And I got to tell you a quick story. James Brown showed up late to the rehearsal because the producers wanted everybody to do a dry run to make sure they knew how to play the game. And James Brown showed up late with his entourage, and everybody else was done with the rehearsal. So we're sitting in the green room just watching him rehearse by himself. And so he did a spin of the wheel, and it landed on some number, and he goes, "Okay, give me a A." They said, "No, James, when you have to pick a consonant." And he goes, "Oh, Africa." It took a while to explain to him how the game. Somehow he had never seen Wheel of Fortune.
Well, and when you watch the show, it still doesn't seem like him.
He's still learning. It's a learning curve for him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, we got to ask you, being from Minnesota, you have a bit of a history with Prince, and we had read once that you were instructed by Prince's lawyers to not make eye contact with him at some award show. Is that true?
It wasn't just me, apparently. It was everybody sitting in his immediate area. I talked to other people about it, and they go, "Yeah, I got the same telegram." It was. I'm sure I saved that. It's got to be in a box somewhere in my house. But yeah, I got a telegram from Prince's office saying that I was not to establish eye contact with him. And as soon as I got that, I immediately sent a telegram back saying, "Yes, make sure that Prince doesn't look at me either. Thank you."
Well, I know you have approached him a few times to do parodies of his, and he's been kind of uncooperative. Do you think that'll be something you'll try every few years, or have you given up on it? It's
been a long time. I had several ideas in the 80s that would have been great then. In the last couple of decades, I haven't had any, real need to call Prince. I don't know if his sense of humor has improved. But if I ever have an idea, people change. Who knows? I certainly make the call if that were the case.
He might be calling you at some point. Your albums probably outsell his these days, yeah. Well, referring to the albums, it seems like with your style music, it's probably easier for you to get the songs out more in singles, online and that. Is that going to be something that you kind of gravitate towards in the future? Or?
I'm thinking so. I haven't made any decisions. I've got one more album on my record contract. So the next group of songs will come out as an album. But after that, I don't know. I am very much tempted to just release singles after that point because, the stuff that I do, most of it is timely and topical, and why wait until you have 12 songs to put it out? Because at that point, 10 of the 12 are probably going to be, sort of old news. So I think digital distribution is kind of the way to go.
But you did say that there is an album in the works that's coming out soon, or?
It's not coming out soon, but it is coming out eventually. I've got 6 of the 12 songs done. I've got 6 more to go. So the originals are done. The parodies have not been written yet. I saved those till the end so they can be as timely as possible. Don't know when it's coming out. I could guess. If I had to guess, I'd say sometime in the next 30 to 40 years.
All right. Well, we'll be looking out for it for sure.
Okay.
Do you think there's somebody else, if you decide to step away from the music business, is there somebody else that you think you could pass the torch to or that might, take on the comedy genre?
Oh, there's tons of people out there already. I mean, The Lonely Island is doing great. I mean, their new album is fantastic. I love those guys. Tenacious D, Flight of the Conchords. There's a lot of people doing great, funny music. YouTube, 98% of that's pretty bad, but there are people out there that are doing great work too. So, I mean, there's no shortage of people doing funny music.
And I suppose, unfortunately, a lot of that gets attributed to you somehow, it seems.
Well, when Napster was in its heyday, somehow my name got attached to every single parody in the world, apparently. So I get the credit and or blame for most of the parodies out there. And I've got enough of my own work to be embarrassed about. I don't need somebody else's work.
So now you also have a new children's book coming out. Is that right?
It's out. It's been out for a couple of weeks. It's called My New Teacher and Me. It's my second children's book. And it's a picture book, so it's meant for ages 4 to 8. But it's the kind of thing that parents hopefully would enjoy reading to their kids, and the kids would enjoy it as well. It's a story about a 8-year-old kid named Billy who's got a wild, overactive imagination. And his first day of school, he meets Mr. Booth, who's a very strict, by-the-book, by-the-rules authoritarian. And they don't quite get along. There's a little bit of a clash there. So it's basically a celebration of imagination and a defense of individuality.
Sounds good. And you've obviously done some film and whatnot in the past. Do you think you're planning to do any more of that in the future or anything?
I'd like to. I mean, I've got several things that are sort of in the works, which I'm not at liberty to talk about, but there are things being pitched, and when I get off the road this fall, we'll see what happens. I mean, I've got some meetings I'm supposed to be taking, and I've gotten burned in the past talking about things that I thought for sure were going to happen, and then they don't, which is sort of like standard business in Hollywood. Sure. So I'm making every effort to to be more involved in TV and features, but it's not real until it's in TV Guide.
Sure. We look forward to it.
Well, thanks.
Well, we know for sure you have a show coming up at Mystic Lake here in Minnesota. You seem to play Minnesota a lot. We usually catch you when you're here, and we're kind of hoping for a biggest ball of twine at one of these shows.
Oh, I wish I could say that's on the set list, but it's not currently. I hope to bring that back sometime. I know that's a big favorite, and I love that song, but it won't be this time, but maybe next tour.
Well, your tours are, it seems like it's not just the music. I mean, you have all the costume changes and the different films, and the last time that we went, there's little 4-year-old kids and there's old 90-year-old grandparents. So I mean, it's definitely runs the gamut.
It's pretty awesome.
It's really great. And this was never calculated, but I've got a very demographically wide fan base. And if you look out into the crowd at any one of my live shows, like you mentioned, you'll see little kids, you'll see college age and parents and grandparents. Like everybody of all different ages enjoying the show, and they're all enjoying it on a different level, but they're all having a good time, which is really amazing to see.
Well, again, we got to say we are huge fans. I've been buying your albums since I was a little kid, and it's been great having you on.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing you.
Yay. Take care.
All right, have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.